This show is brought to you by DF Studios Limited. Whether you're a business owner or entrepreneur, DF Studios will guide and assist you on the best ways to promote your brand digitally, in addition to creating visitor and customer generating content like blogs, social media posts, videos, and even podcasts like this one you're listening to right now. Visit dfstudiosltd.com or hit up info@dfstudiosltd.com for more info. And last but not least, or should I say finally, let's talk about The Last of Us, right? So, because of life and work, I could not, cover the first episode, the weekend, or I should say the couple days after it came out on HBO, after it premiered, sorry, on HBO, right? But thankfully for me, we have a second chance now because, the second episode dropped last night time of us recording this.
Right.
So now we have a chance to talk about the first two episodes, right?
Sure.
Ricardo, I'll let you to just give just a brief run through as to what the conceit of this show is thus far.
Right.
And I'll just share my opinion on what we've gotten so far, coming as someone who have never played the games, right? So,
Yeah, sure.
Ricardo, take it away. Last of Us,
Right.
episode 1
So
and 2, what's going on?
right, no problem. So right, yeah. So we following. Right. So they changed something kind of big, but yeah. So in 2003, something very unusual happened where basically some kind of outbreak of mushroom, in people start affecting them, and they basically turn them into zombie people for the most part. And it's a global pandemic that caused the fall of the world. And Joel, main character we following, played by Pedro Pascal, and his daughter. He and his that's what his friend or his brother. I forget the character. It's
I think it's supposed to be his friend.
yeah, that's right, right. So he had to get out of Dodge, basically just leave because of this melting down of society because of this basically zombie apocalypse shit. You're accustomed to that. You know the drill with that kind of stuff, right? But yeah, accidentally his daughter is killed, and then we jump 20 years. The fall, and then what we learn at the end of first episode, Joe meets a character by the name of Ellie. What is implied that we find out that she's immune to well, not viruses, mushrooms. There's a type of cordyceps that effectively mutated to operate with humans. And that's pretty much it. That's what the thing is. It follows roughly the game. It just feels like a different script to the game, but it's pretty good. This is pretty good. I have a couple of concerns, but have nothing to do with the quality of the material necessarily, but just the fact that the nature of adapting a game and what kind of game you're adapting to, and like because the nature of how the game played itself out, I'm not too impressed with this. Because it just feels like you just watching somebody play the game. If you're familiar with the game, as I said, the writers.
Okay, I understand. Mhm.
Yeah, the writers, as I say, the writers don't share controllers, right? And it just feels like that. It's just the game, but much more less. What's the word I want to use for this? Boy, less dissonant in terms of the narrative. Because when you're playing a video game, it have a lot of dissonance with your character, and probably a possible glitches, and the kind of uncanny valley nature of it. And it's just a fully cinematic playthrough of the game. Like a lot of people straight up tell you, they'll just watch the game online and never play it. And it's a full cinematic experience unto itself. And this is like carrying that to the next level and then doing some extra build up stuff because they do a bunch of expansion of the world building, mostly to do it with how things fell effectively. They just get into that aspect of it, and yeah, that is about it. But that as it is, that's excellent as what we get in, mostly because Pedro Pascal is amazing. He's pretty damn good in this, and that opening sequence involving his daughter is great. But yeah,
yes.
yeah, I'm gonna get into like every detail and what they changed or what they didn't change. Like they changed the actress. I think it's Tandy Newton's daughter. Joel's daughter.
It was yeah.
Right. So in this they make her a little older and they make her much darker. She's like actress in this. That is like one change. It's not a big change. It's not a problem for me. It's actually smarter making her older character, in my humble opinion.
Okay.
It's a bunch of this, just like a bunch of these little editing changes they go with that work it. That I don't super love, but it work it, and it's just a good template. One interesting thing is that the character Marlene is the same actress or the voice actress in the games. But Troy Baker is in this, who was the voice actor of Joel, and stuff like that. It's just all the little details you're noticing. The one thing they did is a little small details. It's just the actual explanation of the thing. So in the games, you kind of piece together that is like cordyceps. Like if you know the biology of that, these things that could take over insects and animals or whatever it is that basically they just effectively, well, I don't know if mutate is the right word. I'm not sure if Darwinian selections apply to them in the same way, but effectively mutate to inhabit humans and do the same thing it did to insects. Or it does to many insects. It do this to ants all the time and that kind of stuff. Yeah, nice story. And it is one of the better like explanations or plausibility. And I'm gonna use the usual big word as like to use verisimilitude, applying to this kind of stuff. Like if it were to happen, what it would be like maybe, and a lot more acceptable and say something like The Walking Dead or any other zombie apocalypse thing. Like it,
Right, where it's just some basic, virus in the air,
virus,
right?
but the thing is, the logic of it make a lot more sense because really the mushrooms, you can argue mushrooms have a kind of workable intelligence on its own in terms of like how it is spread along and network systems and that kind of stuff. And again, the only reason I'm familiar with this idea is, well, two reasons. I know who Paul Stamets is, my own personal life, and Star Trek Discovery, right? So,
Okay.
yeah.
Quick question, right? The same cause of this virus, right, is the same thing in the game, right? Or they just tweak
Roughly,
it
yeah,
to...
roughly the same. It's just in
Okay.
this, they're explaining it more. Like, especially with that second
Right.
episode. The second episode
Yeah,
is
they
great. That
did a
opening
great
sequence
job in that opening
is
sequence.
where it is in Indonesia thing.
Indonesia, Jakarta, yeah.
Right. And it's just this woman who's this expert in mycology. And she just say, yeah, we fucked. I just want to spend time with my family.
Is what she says at the end though, like this policeman asking her what they should do, right? It's like bomb, just bomb everything.
Yeah, so
no way to stop
the expert, the actual smart person, like just give up now. It's like, all right, they just show you how bad things is. And I like that. Then they make it work. It's a bunch of big changes from the game. Little small changes too. It's like if you look up what's going on, like if you know the characters of the game, you know who Ellie is, you know who, well, they mentioned a character who I think played by a really, really popular actress gonna come up. Could I gonna be a flashback? Most likely they'll show that scene that I was in the DLC. That coming up too. And yeah, they're making it work for it. Is everybody have good chemistry? I really, really liking Ellie and Joe's relationship and their thing. What they do with Tess, I really like because again, I was in the game. Yeah, it's we could get into a deeper argument, and I'll talk about this when we get to the finale. But what I'll say is that is a really, really strange conceit about the nature of video game adaptation, and I always felt a feeling like this is the one game that they could do because it is the easiest. But the thing is, this already had the kind of the cinema envy now, so I'm not sure what it added to the discourse in terms of an adaptation. But look, people like it, so I can't say no. But it's something about it in the back of my head that concerning me, and it'll probably flesh itself out as an idea a lot better when the season ends. But as it is, I really enjoyed it so far. I really enjoying these first two episodes. I dug the hell out of it.
Well, as someone who has never played the games, I mean, this show had a lot to live up to, right? Especially in catering people like me who never, played or never played a minute of these games, right? And I would say that this show totally met those expectations. So you know what I mean? In just two episodes alone, right? They just did such a fantastic job in taking us into the world, giving us stakes, making it seem realistic and plausible enough, right?
Yeah.
For you to buy into everything that goes on, man. And it just does it so well, right? Just to touch before I just want to get this out of the way before I forget though. It's HBO, right? So they always have to come through with these memorable title sequences, opening title sequences.
Yeah.
And yes, I know the year now start, but this is one that I'm gonna remember by years end. Sorry. It's creepy AF.
Yeah.
But it works though because basically it's showing, it's mole boy, but it's how the camera just follows it and how it just takes all these different shapes, whether it's cities or whether it's like a certain chunk of the United States itself.
Yeah.
There's like a wide shot where you see part of it. Basically, I think it's around Austin, Texas, or I think it's around Texas or Boston, one of those areas, right? But yeah, how that sequence was done by, and especially music that plays through it by. Whew, that one really
a great opening sequence. It's very Game of Thrones, but it works.
Yeah.
That's why
but that's what I mean. It's that HBO style of thing, right? Yeah, I mean, you saw it with Game of Thrones, with gosh, you've seen it pretty much with a lot of shows, whether it's HBO shows, right? Whether it's Westworld or just that sort of stylized intro. But I did it recently by Lord of the Rings.
Right.
Yeah, with the sand and all that kind of stuff. But like there's always some sort of imagery that show up there that you wouldn't understand with the first episode. But then when you reach the final, it's like, oh yeah, I know what this is about. I know what this is about, right? But yeah, this one in particular is one that I will remember for a long, long while, right? Also like how the show takes its time, right? Yes, the first episode was 80 minutes long, but it took its time, right?
Yeah.
In terms of explaining the story and the world and whatnot. I love how it slowly builds
Emotionally,
tension, especially that
yeah,
first episode.
emotionally they get it, they tie into it a lot better because again in the games it was pretty quick, like how
Of course, because a
they
game,
set it
right?
up.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. In the games, but in this, they set it up. They establish it a little better, especially what they did with Joel's daughter. I thought that was really good. And then the little small world building of it works. So like, it's implied how people get sick is because of flour. So something involving either wheat or flour. Anything
Right.
with baked goods is a whole thing. And I noticed that so much baked goods references throughout the first episode. Somebody pointed this out later that when I saw in the second episode, it was a mill. I'm like, okay, it's to do it with baked goods is the connection because you notice Joel and Eddie were supposed to eat a cake and then they were supposed to eat some cookies and stuff like that. Now they didn't need the fancy.
Right.
Little
Yes,
things like
you're
that.
right.
I didn't notice this until seeing the second episode. It's like, oh shit, it has to do with that. It's all these little also that's how people get infected originally, and so on and so
Right.
forth. And they might fill that up and make it make sense later. But yeah, I guess in terms of execution, this is excellent. I can't be mad at it. But
No.
I'm slightly concerned because people talking about it as the best video game adaptation, but like the video game was already very filmic and cinematic. So I'm not like I feel like cheating a little bit. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Guys, how about me?
All right,
And
well-
most likely with this kind of tough stuff, they're gonna bring back like something like God of War or something like that. But like that's not really adaptation though. Like I don't know. I know it technically still is, but it just kind of bothered me. Like, yeah, well, this could easily be a movie anyway in the first place. Like,
Right,
make
agreed.
it. And then as a game, the game in terms of a gameplay doesn't bring anything to the table. So it does, to me, it always designed to film like a script. In my humble opinion, that's how I always felt like about it. Anyway, that's just me. It's not a big problem. It's still well executed. I know the story. They're not changing too much. Things gonna get hot, especially with season 2. Especially
I do hope so.
Especially if they do season 2 like the second game. I really, really hope what they're going to do because the second game is very controversial, but I like it. Execution-wise, I can't be mad at anything like that. One thing is that the girl who played Tess, I swear this woman is Carrie Coon, she's not Carrie Coon, Dread. Like, every time I look at your face, but whatever, it's not Carrie Coon. Should be Carrie Coon in my humble opinion, whatever. But yeah, rating so far is pretty high. I'm loving it so far. I give it like an 8 out of 10 so far, but I expect it to be really good. But the problem is that I already know the story and they're not changing too much. Everybody making a lot of great jokes about it too, like with this boy, it taking me out of it. It's not like how I didn't die 12 times in a row or some bullshit like that. Not fun.
Lord.
Yeah. Whatever. Yeah.
Well, speaking of Tess, right? It took me a hot minute to realize who she is. She's Anna Tor from Fringe shit. Like I watch the face, I hear the voice, like, oh shit, you in this? What? Okay, right. And when I saw the first episode, I remember just going back to the title sequence now. You only seeing Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey's names, right? I tell myself, all right, Anna Torv not gonna make it throughout the show. And then episode 2 happened, like, yep, I was right.
And I just one tragedy because when they get to Riley, oh gosh, and especially when they have played Riley, boy, you're like, nah, boy, rough. They got me rough. Anyway, moving on.
Just going back to that first episode, just how it was executed was well done. I won't lie though, and you expect it in films like this, right? In zombie post-apocalyptic shows, right? The shit hit the fan moment, you know what I mean? When things start to go awry and people start to get infected, whatnot. Yeah, that entire sequence had me on board, boy. Couple of moments I jump. One moment involving an explosion and a piece of shrapnel that went through a windshield. I jump on that shit. Yeah. I know it's nothing new. I mean, if you remember the opening sequence, the friggin' Donnie Dead from Zack Snyder, like it's pretty much the same thing, but just in a much grand level. It actually remind me, even though admittedly I only saw the first season, I forget I forget a lot about it. I never watched the other seasons. Fear the Walking Dead. It has a Fear the Walking Dead kind of vibe where shit all sunny and whatnot, and then the virus comes and it's all chaotic, right?
It does. I think it did a better job of the fall, like that. Why the Last Man? Why the Last Man? I think fell flat in terms of like what they should have do with that.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was a show last year.
Yeah,
right?
that was a show. Yeah, But Why the Last Man? I love the comic, but yeah, I can understand why the show get cancelled. I totally understand it. Even though I didn't want it to get cancelled because I thought it could have gotten better, but yeah, it didn't work. But this did the fall of humanity way better.
The strength of the source material alone could have warranted another season. But
me too. Yeah, in my
what were you saying? Sorry.
No, the fall of humanity in this was really, really harrowing and nightmarish. They really make it work in that first episode, Joe.
Yes, yes, yes. Especially with the military as well too. Like what they did with the military in this, well, the characters
Yeah,
there, caught me by surprise. And then well, they cut to 20 years later now, and you see just the fallout of that now. And then you have you do the Fireflies going up against this military group and whatnot. And yeah, it's just how again, just giving you all these facts and whatnot, right? One thing I have to give praise to the show too is giving us information that we might be asking ourselves, but they
right,
work it in so smartly into the
right.
dialogue, right? Especially in
So
the
yeah,
second episode with
this
just
is controversial, eh?
with Ellie now. There's like these moments with Ellie, Joel and Tess, right?
Yeah,
And Ellie's just asking these questions about, isn't there
right.
this zombie that does this, or
Yep,
what happens if that happens? I'm like, all
yep,
right, I see what you're doing in this show.
right.
Because if you play the game, for example,
You know, yeah,
seeing those zombies for yourself would be a huge shock, right? Especially if you're going blind. Or I would say if you start playing the game, you should at least be. I don't know, like I never played the game, so I feel like either will go in knowing what to expect with these zombies,
right,
or they will tell you early on what to expect, and it's just a matter of where they show. But how they
right.
work it into the dialogue, I thought was great. And then when you see them first, I was like, oh shit, right? Also, I just had to mention quickly, boy, the creature design for this way, whew,
Yep,
like just how these heads are shaped though, and
yes, the
especially with the whole
mushrooms, yeah,
fungi thing, the mushroom
yep,
thing. Yeah, it looks creepy AF,
yep,
bro. Like what the
yeah,
hell? But yeah, you were
yeah.
saying?
Yeah, no, yeah. You're right. I think they do a good job of balancing it. Of they clearly design it to cater to people who don't watch this at all, who don't know about the games at all. But they also clearly cater to people who are nostalgic for the game, and
Right.
they balance it well. I thought they did a really good job of balancing it. And I don't know all of the details of the game personally. Like I only played those games once. I just remember the world. I just have a working memory of it. But it's like yeah, they make it work for what it is. And it is pretty damn good. Yeah. So nice about that.
Right. Now I can't speak for the first episode, right? But I know for sure there's moments in that second episode, especially with those three that I mentioned earlier, that
Right.
that are pulled from the game, right? I
Yeah,
know there's like
definitely.
certain shots, like there's one in particular with Ellie crossing like this platform, this wooden platform
Right.
from building to building. I watched that shot, I was like, that from the game, man.
Probably.
I, I feel
The
that I
stuff
feel
the
that from
stuff
the
in the
game,
hotel.
or at least the backgrounds, or at least the yeah,
Yeah,
the set design have to
yeah,
be from the game itself. Like
definitely.
yeah.
No, the stuff from the hotel when she was joking about the hotel stuff. Yeah, that's straight up in the game.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's all them little things. Yeah.
Right. I also like in the first episode, just mention a few things quickly, right? I love like there's a moment involving using music, like popular Billboard hits as
Right.
code, right? I thought
Right.
that was
Right.
cool because that goes
Yeah.
back now to the trailer that dropped, and I was wondering why we're hearing Aha's Take on Me. So I'm thinking that okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna get more needle drops like this in the next set of episodes. We didn't get one in the second episode, but given the way how it ends, it's totally understandable. But I have a feeling there'll be more, big hits that will show up and at
Yeah.
appropriate moments as well, right?
Yeah.
The acting across the board is great, right? Anna Torf, who I didn't expect to see this, she was great at it. Bella Ramsey, I was a little concerned about her being in it as well too, but I thought that she played the Ellie character very well. You know what I mean? She is precocious. She have a mouth on her, but it's understandable
Yeah. She's very
why.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. And Pedro Pascal, I mean, of course, is fantastic in this too. I just
Yeah.
love how cynical and hardened he is, especially with
Yeah.
what you saw what happened with his daughter, which is really unfortunate. But I am just, but I'm really curious to see how he's gonna warm up to Ellie now. Like I know it happens in the game, but I want to see how
Well,
it
where it
materializes
goes,
on
where
screen.
the story goes is like the ending is great. Like the ending of the first game is great. It's one of my favorite endings of a video game ever. So I really want to see how they're gonna play this. For what it is though. Yeah, we go see.
Yeah, and I certainly can't wait, man. But yeah, I mean, this show starts off. I mean, yeah, we are off to a rollicking start with this one. I can't wait to see what we get with the other 7 episodes. 'Cause I think it's just 9 episodes in total, right?
Right.
Which is kind of weird because HBO, right? I mean, why we can't just get an even 10? I don't know, whatever, right? Lastly, I forgot to mention too. I love how it alludes a lot to COVID, right? Particularly just the opening sequences for the first 2 episodes, right? How they just allude a lot to what we
Right.
went through, the pandemic and whatnot, what we're still going through right now. There was
Right.
actually a few moments where I wasn't jokingly saying this, but I honestly was saying, why didn't wear a mask? Or like you're around
Yeah.
all these like bodies with all these like weird fungi on them, and they just like they don't have a mask on. You know what I mean? And I just have like one little nitpick. And I know they changed this, right, in terms of the timeline. When the first set of when the first set of infections took place, which is 2003 now, and then we cut now to 2023, which makes sense, right? I know
Right.
that's not the same year as when the games
No, the
were
game was
set,
game
of
was
course.
2013, and they jumped to the
Right.
future of our future. They do it like they flip it on this. So they went to 2003, and then to now. So it's 2023 now.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Which is
Well,
smart.
that
Yeah.
right. Well, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But Stupid Me was wondering how old is Joel in this series? Because
Right.
he looked like he in the 30s,
Nah.
especially when you see the daughter there.
He's
And then they
36 in
say
the
20
beginning. He's
years
supposed to be in his
later.
50s now. Which is,
But
I think, Pedro Pascal's actual age. I don't know how old Pedro
no,
Pascal.
well, Pedro's actually like in his mid 40s, I think. But
Right.
like
So
I
they're
don't,
half. Yeah.
yeah,
So he'll be
like I know they do
56.
some makeup to him and whatnot, but I felt like just me personally, he don't look like he in the early or mid 50s at all.
Nah.
I
He's supposed to be
don't
in his
know.
40s. But yeah, I think Joe. I forget what was he thinking. I think Joel was supposed to be in his 40s in thing.
Okay, so I mean he was in his 20s when he had his daughter
No. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Right.
Sarah, right? That's her name.
Right. Right.
Okay. Kind of weird, but all right. But
No,
there
no,
were
no.
times while I was watching, so I was like, yeah, bro, how old are you? I don't know, right? But
Right.
yeah, great start. I was gonna say sorry, but yeah, great start to what I expect to be a great series. You can look forward to our review of the full season once this wraps up. Once it wraps up, sorry. But yeah, rated wise for these first two episodes, yeah, I'm going with you. You know, you give it an 8 out of 10. I'm going 4 out of 5, man. Just at the moment. So that no strong, light or decent. Just 4 out of 5. Just straight 4 out of 5, right? And lastly, I'll say this. I don't even want to get into the whole argument of, this is the best video game adaptation ever, and this is why we should take, this is how you adapt a video game, right? I'm not even gonna get into that argument at all. The show is what it is. Like there's been numerous examples of shows, that adapted source material very well.
Right.
But because The Last of Us is so cinematic,
Exactly.
it has to be appropriately cinematic. And this show
Yeah.
just excels at that, right?
And
But
it has
because
so many,
it
it has
looks
so many
cinematic
games
and
that did
whatnot,
it
right?
now. So, like,
Exactly.
I could totally see, there are so many games that did this. I could totally see, like, where's Christopher Judge fighting up to be Kratos in God of War, because they could totally do a God of War movie now. Or
Yeah.
I can see what do you call it, boy, this thing with Hideo Kojima's last game. That could be a movie. But
What's this? Death Stranding.
Death Stranding, right?
And that was supposed. And it was planning to make this into a series anyway.
Well, I don't know, because I know it have a second game coming, but I'm not sure if they
Okay.
could make it. I don't know if they can make it a film, because they had straight up a bunch of filmmakers in the damn thing.
Right. Del Toro,
in it.
anyone?
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know.
But like what I'll say is like I understand people will say, this is how you adapt a video game, but I
right,
think
that's my problem with
it's
this.
disingenuous in saying that everything else prior to this was a waste of time, like
Right.
Mortal Kombat or I don't know, Detective Pikachu, like all that was a waste of time. No, let's look at this show here. Nah, it's a cinema. It's a all right. Basically, it's like this. It's a cinematic / TV take of a already cinematic video game. That's how it is, right? But in no way would I say it's like this is like the gold standard of video game to film adaptations. Nah, I mean it's The Last of Us, man. I mean, come on, right? But I'll stop there, right? But yeah, Ricardo, you close things off.
Yeah. No, I thought this was pretty good. For what it was. It generally well executed across the board. It looks great. Set design, props, everything across the board looks great, especially the flashback stuff. It really feels like 2003. They make it work now. The world breaking down, and it's just a really, really well executed conceit of the material. It is old material, and it was old material when the game came out. But it's good execution of the old material. It's all about them characters, and they make it work. Yeah, rating so far right now is pretty high. I'm not going to try to say the number, but it's like probably like an 8. But yeah, it's excellent across the board for me so far, and we'll talk about in detail about the problems or changes and issues I may or may not have with this when it's done. So yeah.